don't forget to click that subscribe and bell icon to receive a notification each time I upload a new video. I'm going to put that post-it note there so I don't forget my lines. Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's time for July's mid-month mini mission inspiration. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that one, isn't it? And our randomizer machine for the month of July has chosen the letter A. So your 5 words for inspiration are antelope, avian, arrival, airship and apple. So I'm going to go for the word avian, meaning to do with birds. So you can bet your bottom dollar that a little birdie is going to appear somewhere on my tag. Just turn over to my overhead camera and I'll show you what I'm going to create. So this is my little mini tag journal, or large tag journal, depending which way you look at it, because it's 4 inches across by 8 inches high. So they're a fairly decent size surface to work on to create your art journal projects or your mini tag projects for the mid-month mini missions. So I've got an acrylic front cover for the front on my journal, and I use this as a template to create my tags. So what I've done is I've drawn around it using a piece of packaging from Mr. Bentley's biscuits. So I've drawn around it and I've just cut it out. But what I also did using the same template is I had a search through my Tim Holtz papers because I wanted some maps. So I've got one for the front and that's going to be for the back of the tag. Now I can't decide whether to use that side or whether to use that side. I think I'm probably going to end up using this side. I like this bit because it's got Europe, it's got the UK on it, and it's also got a little bit of like faux clustering down at the bottom. So I'm probably going to use that for the front, and then on the back, because I always like to cover the backs, I shall stick that down to create my tag shape for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to grab some glue, make sure we've got which one's going to be the front, which one's going to, let's do the back first. So that will be the back. So I'll just add some standard or bog standard craft PVA glue. That bit always gets in the way. You always end up dragging it through the glue on your project. So we'll just go all the way around the outside, put a little bit into the middle, like so. Flip that over. We said that was going to go on the back. Not that it matters which side you use because you're going to be covering both of them up anyway. And just drop that down. You've got plenty of wiggle room. Turn it over and just line it up. Whoop. Plenty of wiggle room. Okay, that should do us. So I'm just going to go around the edge with my fingers, just getting rid of any excess glue that's squidged out. Just give that a rub down, and then just with my fingers, just push and evenly distribute that glue underneath. And then I can flip it over and do the same thing for the frontispiece. So glue all the way down. One of these days I'll probably end up cutting that little cap off because it does get in the way. Bad design choice. That should do us. Pop the cap back on. And because it started to curl as it started to dry, so as soon as I put this piece on, it will start to pull in the opposite direction, because that's what glue does. Pulls in one direction until you put something on the back or the other side, and then the force pulls it back in again. It starts to curl as it pulls and dries. But if it bothers you, you can always pop it between something heavy. So that's dried pretty quickly, that. And put it between something heavy just to keep it flat while it dries. But that looks okay to me. So I'm going to give that a good 5-10 minutes just to finish off drying, and then I'm going to just go around, trim it, maybe distress the edges once it's done. So I'll be right back. My tag is pretty much dry now, so as you can see it has kind of evened itself out. There's not a lot of curl to it now, but I want to add some clear gesso over the top, just so that I can add some colour to it in a little while. So this is a brand new pot of clear gesso. It's from Winsor & Newton, because my other clear gesso from Thinner Bear ran out. I used all of it up, so I had to replace it and bought some of this. Now this is a little bit runnier, so you don't really need as much. So I'm just going to give it a quick coating all the way over the top, because when I add some colour to it later, it's going to give me a nice little bit of grounding, and it won't soak straight into the paper. It'll give me some wiggle room, playtime with the colour to be able to blend before it dries. So that's one side, so we'll just give that a quick blast. Now that's dry, we'll flip it over and we'll give the other side a quick coat. Because this is the back, I'm not too bothered if you can see brush strokes in the gesso. That's fine, that'll do. So screw the top back on there, and I'll just show you the front just in case you're wondering. There we go. So Winsor & Newton Artists Acrylic Clear Gesso. Good stuff. Right, the gesso is now dry. You can feel actually the grit in that gesso, which isn't a bad thing. So I'm going to add some colour to the edges of this tag now. So to do that I'm going to use some Vintage Photo archival ink, which is the permanent version rather than the water-based version. So I'm just going to go around adding a little bit of darkness, just a little bit of vintage grunginess. Just because we can. Makes it look like a bit of an old map then. A little bit of dirt to it, and then we'll do the back. I always find with the permanent inks, they work a little bit better if you do add a little bit of gesso beforehand. Not in every instance, obviously, because every project is different depending on what you're doing, and that kind of knowledge about what happens or what works well with what only comes from experience of working with your products and working with different products to see how well they work together. It's like everything else, you know. Some products work better with others, blah blah blah. You know, so it's all kind of all about experimentation. Okay, so next I'm going to bring out some distress crayons. Right, so let's get both my little trays of distress crayons here. I know they're distress crayons, look, it says so on the drawer. I know, I've got organised. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of colour into the background. So we'll use a little bit of darker brown walnut stain, which has got a little bit of a greenish tinge to it. See? And then if we get a little bit of water from a wet wipe, and we could just start working that in. So just gently. Just adds a little bit of grunginess to the background. And that's the reason why they're called distress crayons, or distress, because that's exactly what they do. See, if I just wet my finger, I could probably get them to activate just as well. See? That was just with wetting my finger. Just add a little bit of grunt into the background with those, and then I can add in a little bit of colour. So for this I want a little bit of yellow, so let's have a look. What have we got? Is there a wild honey in here somewhere? That's spiced my malady. Rusty hinge. What's that? Fossilised amber. Now, I thought there was a wild honey in there somewhere. Ripe persimmon. I think the carved pumpkin. Tea dye, which is a bit orangey. There we go. Wild honey. Little bit of orange. So just add in a little bit of colour. I'm just gonna wet my finger and do it this time. See, we've still got the map showing through. Okay, and then I want to add in just a little bit, a couple of touches of red. So we've got some barn door. So let's add a little bit of red down there, maybe a little bit of red there, maybe just a touch there. Just nice and gentle. Just to add a few little touches of colour. I think maybe I just want to add a little bit more red there. And then where did that wild honey go up there? So let's add a little bit of that in the middle. Well, I've never tried using the picket fence on one of these, so let's see what happens if we do that. Not a lot. Didn't think the white would really work much. It's kind of a non-colour really, isn't it? Does it lighten it up a little bit? Nah, not really. Nah, it just kind of disappears into the background, doesn't it? Oh, listen to my tummy. Grumbling away like I don't know what. Right, let's put those distress crayons away. So there we have it. So, for my focal point, just quickly to clean up my mats. Because we're using, I'm going with the word avian. That obviously means to do with birds. So recently I purchased a new Thinlet die set from Sizzix and Mr. Holtz, hence the reason for me using other Tim Holtzy products. So it was this one, the Feathered Friends die set. Now, the dies, it says 6 on there. When mine arrived, there were only 5 in the packet. I didn't find out until a couple of weeks after I'd actually bought this. This wing here is missing from my set for whatever reason. So, but I do still have that one, so I can just duplicate it for these birds, which is fine. So I'm going to pop that to one side for now, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for my little birds. So I've already pre-cut some pieces of card, and I've got some yellow, kind of honey yellow, and I've got some red, and I've got some, I couldn't find any decent brown, so I've got this kind of bronzy brown that I'm going to use for the background and for the wings. So obviously I'm going to have to use my big shot machine to run this through to cut these out. So I'll go away and do that, because you don't really want to see me cranking away knocking those out, because that's not exactly the most interesting thing to watch. And I'll be back once I've cut these out, but I'll make sure that I cut 2 wings out, one for each of the boydies. So I'll be back in a second when I've done that. I'm back, and I've done my die cutting, as you can see. So this was that bronze paper that I was telling you about, or the card I was telling you about. See how it's got like that kind of metallic sheen to it. Now the manufacturer of this particular cardstock also do a beautiful, beautiful antique gold. It's called Antalis. But look at that, it's beautiful. So it's brown or gold, brown or gold. It's gorgeous. It's very, very nice. Anyway, so like I said, I've had to cut out 2 of the same wing because my other wing die wasn't included in the pack. So I'll just gather those dies up, and I can put them away so that they are nice and safe for the next time that I need to use them. Okay, so let's just put the bronze bits to one side for the moment, because I want to add a bit of distress just to these little bits here. So I've used Coordination, so that's Coordination's the craft core. And I just want to add a little bit on the edge just to give it a little bit of definition. Just to grunge it up a little bit, and it helps just to blend into that kind of brown bronzy colour that we have in the background for the boydie. So it just gives it a little bit more depth and dimension. But I think this one as well is one of those cardstocks that you can sand. So if you wanted to, and you're using the coordinations, if you're following what I'm doing, you could literally just sand the edge a little bit. I've got an emery board here, and it just starts to show. Can you just see the edge there? It just starts to show that brown edge a little bit from the craft underneath, which is cool if you want a bit of a distressed look. You see, I can do this at the top, and that's going to give it a little bit of a highlight at the top, and then underneath it'll be darker. And if I wanted to go real dark underneath it, I could use maybe black soot, but it's all down to preference. In the grand scheme of things, it won't really make the slightest bit of difference. People will look at it and go, oh, that's nice, or they won't, regardless of what you do. There we go. So just a little bit more brown under there. Not going to need a huge amount. Oh god, my tummy is gurgling away again because I've obviously just had lunch. Okay, so there's the tag. Put my scalpel away because I'm not using that anymore, and I'll put the emery board away, and then we'll just bring in some glue. So I've got that glue that I was using earlier. So we'll add the first layer of the little one. So I'm just going to add just a touch. This glue is the stuff that will dry clear anyway, so that's okay. Just clear that out of the way, and then we can line that up about there. Ooh. I'd say. Like I said, it dries clear. But if you're bothered about it, just use a dry glue stick. And then flip it over, put just a spot on the tail, and a bit around where the birdie is. And I'm just going to add a little bit of extra just on the nose, or the area that's going to be attached near the beak. And then I'm going to layer it up. Ooh. Just there. Little birdie. And then we'll do the same thing for this one over here. So put a little bit of glue there, a little bit of glue there, just dot a couple of bits around there. Ian's trying his very hardest to creep in without making a noise. Failing really. Miserably.
Very miserably indeed. Good afternoon, everyone.
Right, so we'll line that one up along the edge of the body because it's a bigger bird. Like I said, don't worry too much about the glue, it will disappear. And then flip that over and just put a tad there, just a little around there. You don't have to go real mad with this. It's not like you're making anything which is going to be museum quality. And then drop that down, line it on the legs, and then the body. Birdie birdie. Right, so I'm just going to get a piece of kitchen roll, and I'm just going to press down and dab over the top. And what that does is it just pushes any of the glue out from underneath where you don't want it. There we go. So there's my two little birdies. I'm going to give them time to dry, and hopefully that white PVA will disappear, and then I will be right back. Of course, I will do a clean-up as well. Okay, so the glue didn't, when it dried, it didn't go clear. So guess what's happening to that glue? Straight in the bin. PVA normally goes completely clear when it's dry. This stayed white for some reason. So what I've had to do is I've had to go in just with a coloured pen and just colour in between, just to go over the top of where the white was, and it's hidden it mostly, so no real harm done. Okay, so the next thing I want to do today is to add a little bit of stenciling into the background, just to add a little bit more texture. So I'm just going to cut up a little bit of craft sponge, like so. I've got some white paint, Dean Wakely Media White, and I'm just going to add some of that. I don't want to use gesso this time, actually I want to use a fairly thickish paint, and the stencil I'm going to use is this one. So this is a new stencil from my collection, from my catalogue. It's not been released yet. This is the only one in existence. This is a prototype. This is called Plume. And I'm going to hold off for the time being releasing this stencil until the postal situation has improved somewhat. I'm not going to restock my website until I'm happy that everybody's parcels are going or getting where they're supposed to be going in a reasonable time, because currently some parcels are going and getting to the destination quickly, some are just dragging their backsides across the world. I had a message from a lady in Australia who said that hers got to her in record time, whereas I know there are still people here in the UK, when it was posted at the same time, that are still waiting due to, you know, local delivery offices and post offices being shut or having to close down because there's been COVID outbreaks, so that they can deep clean. But if that's happening somewhere in the States, I don't hear about it, so I don't know where the delays are happening inside the States, which counties or states are more affected than others, what the postal situation is like in local areas. I just don't know. So until there's a little bit more clarity, there's a little bit more information coming out, because currently the information that's coming out from official sources, i.e. from the Trump tard, can't be relied on, because he's just completely contradicting the medical professionals. And I'm sorry, but I think I'm more inclined to believe the medical professionals than him. Let's face it, who's got more experience and more knowledge? But anyway, I digress. So that's the reason why I'm not releasing this one just yet, not even for pre-order, because, you know, it just complicates matters. If I put it up for pre-order and it doesn't come out for another 3-4 weeks, it just makes things more complicated. So this will be appearing. So this is called Plume, and I'll show you the other one that it's going to be released with. So that's called Plume, and this one is called Argyle-ish. So let's get some black card, you can see it better. So that one's going to be called Argyle-ish, and that one is Plume. So they'll be the next two that I'll be releasing, just not yet. So I apologise if I'm whetting your appetite and then pulling the rug out from underneath you at the same time. Sorry. What can I say? I'm mean that way. Right, okay. That theoretically, because I'd only gone through the stencil lightly, means that that actually is dry already. Pretty much. I'll just give it a quick blast though, just to make sure. Okay, so I'm looking at this now straight away. Two things are jumping out at me. One, the edges aren't dark enough. And secondly, I want some drippage. I want some, yeah, it's just calling out to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my inks that I made, my own inks that I made. Now then, let's have a look. So we've got a dark coloured one, sandstone. And let's have a look. Let's see if we can add some drips just into the background. Because we used gesso on it, it should be okay to, I'm hoping that's going to create a second path down. No, it's going on the first again. Let's just Get some there. That's more like it. Let's do some along that left hand side there. This might help just to darken those edges as well. So let's see if we can do that. Get it going across the page a little bit. Maybe need a little bit more. Go on, let's get the drips running down. Let's see if we can encourage them. It's obviously not putting enough liquid out there, is it? To go on. Go on. Let's go down. Let's get some trails going. Haha, perfect. Let's do another one down here. It's funny how you just get these little ideas that come to you. That is just spot on what I want. Now, rather than waste the stuff there, what I'm going to do, put that back away in there, is I'm going to take the tag and I'm just going to drop it down. And I'm going to use the back to wipe up the mess. Let's get the dryer on that. Okay, so, haha, ha. Yeah, it's had a bit of grunge on the back, that's what we like. Now, that's exactly what I was kind of hoping would happen. Wasn't really holding out much hope, but it did actually work. So what I've got now is I've got somewhere to stand our little birds, because they now look like branches. Look at that. like it a lot. Okay, so let's do that so we can stick these down onto the tag, and then we'll work out where we're going to put the quote for it. So let's grab some glue, because I'll need some different glue now. I've always had good results with this one, but saying that, I'm probably going to end up. There we go. So let's put some glue there. Put a bit on the feet there, and just a little bit on the beak. So Ian's just gone out. He's gone to the post office. So we're still posting stuff. It's still going out. It's just taking forever to get where it's supposed to go. Let's put that one up there on that branch. Okay, I'll put a little dot just there. A bit too much, I think. Let's just wind that down. A little bit on the tail. That should do. That should do us. And then we can stand that one up there. Like that. So hopefully this glue isn't going to make a liar out of me and will dry transparent. It could be that's going to it's reacting with the gesso. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to give that a minute or two, and then I'll be back. So I realised I'd forgotten to press record as I decided to go around the edges of the tag with black soot. I thought it needed to go a little bit darker just to kind of finish off the edges. I thought maybe using the ground espresso, but then I thought, no, we'll add a little bit of black on instead. That looks better as a frame all the way around the tag. I think so anyway. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I've printed off my quote, which says, "No bird soars too high if he soars with his own wings," which I think is going to be perfect for this. So again, I just want to quickly whip around the edges with my Distress ink, just to kind of give it a little bit of a darker border, and then I've added on to the back some double-sided sticky tape. Now, I did that before I cut them out, just to make it a little bit easier on me, because I could glue it, but I just thought, you know, being a bit lazy. So just do that, add a wee bit of colour just to make the white pop just a tad, and then we can stick those on. If I can get the back peeled off, there we go. So that one can go across the bottom there, and this one can go just there like that, just a bit lower down. And this one, now I deliberately didn't stick the yellow bird's feet down because I wanted to tuck this underneath. So if I tuck that underneath there, just there, it looks like it's stood. And then just at the end, I've got a little bit, well, I've got a small butterfly from the Tim Holtz Botanical Ephemera set. And what have I done with my glue? There we go. I'm just going to add a little blob. I could use a foam pad. Just one of those. In fact, I might even have to. Let me just quickly go and grab one. Oh, don't run away. Where are they? Adhesive tape. So now foam pads. Talk amongst yourself. 3D foam pads. There we go. Ooh. It's a good job. It's not a large room. So I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Dimensional foam pad. Peel that off. Then I'm going to stick that just there, so it looks like little birdies looking at the butterfly. And there you go. That should be pretty much my tag for July. So let's just pop a hole through. Oh, crikey. And then the last thing I need to do is just to add on the letter for the month, which is A. So that should hopefully peel off fairly easy. Hang on. And somebody's back from the post office. Long queue.
Yes.
The new reality, living in lockdown. Still got really long queues at the post office. Right, so there we go. So we've got the letter A for Avian. Stick that to the back of the tag. And there we go. That is my tag for the mid-month mini mission inspiration for the month of July. So all I have to do now, you always laugh when I say that, don't you?
Me, yeah.
Yeah, for the month of July, is I can pop that into my tag journal. So we've got A, and then T for last month, and then I've got the letter on the back of each one so I know what's inspired it. And there you go. My mid-month mini mission inspiration for Julie 2020. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me do that. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. I always do a sharp intake of breath there, just so I can get the entire sentence out in one go. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.